The lady didn't expect her children to do something so terrible to her, but she decided to teach them a big lesson. Even the hardest heart will be shaken to know everything that happened to this poor lady. Angela had a lonely life in recent years, but it wasn't always like that. She grew up in Trento, one of the richest cities in northern Italy. Her father was a businessman and owned numerous properties. The years went by, and Angela married Julio, one of her father's partners, whom she had been passionately in love with since she was young. They had 3 children, Matthias, Lorenzo, and Cristina. Angela and Julio had a great relationship. They complemented each other so well that everything flowed even better in their hands, further increasing the family's inheritance. The children had everything they wanted and lived a life of luxury, but time passed so quickly that before they knew it, the house was empty because all the children had already married. On weekends, they gathered for family lunches, a moment of great happiness for Angela and Julio, as they enjoyed seeing everyone together. They had a great affection for their grandchildren and loved spending time playing with them. Good times were had, but not everything is rosy. Things started to go downhill after Julio's death, as the children began to manage the family business without much experience. One wanted to assert dominance over the other, and conflicts arose between them. From then on, they no longer gathered on weekends, and Angela hadn't seen her grandchildren for a long time. She always called her children and asked them to visit. They agreed to come, but never showed up. When she said she would come to them, they asked to arrange another day because they were always too busy. Over time, Angela became increasingly lonely, and the children fought more among themselves. Several properties and lands inherited from their parents were sold, and the businesses went from bad to worse. Angela wanted to stay informed about the family business, but the children deceived her, saying that everything was going well and that she didn't need to worry. But in reality, taxes were not being paid, and several debts were accumulating. The day dawned sunny, and Angela woke up excited. It was her 85th birthday. Despite her age, she had a youthful energy and immediately started preparing her own cake, made delicious dishes, and organized the whole table. She wore her favorite outfit and put on her lipstick, which she only used on special occasions. She was eagerly awaiting her children and grandchildren, whom she hadn't seen in a long time. A few hours passed, and the doorbell rang. Angela hurried to open the door, and when she did, her face lit up with joy. It was her children and grandchildren. She couldn't believe it. They were finally there. They entered and helped themselves without any ceremony. Angela couldn't even eat. She was too excited, wanting to know everything about everyone. But her children didn't give her the attention she deserved, distracted by their phones while eating. They didn't seem happy with their Mother's Day. They ate quickly and got up soon after. "Mom, grab your things, let's get out of here," said the daughter. Angela was surprised and pensive, as she didn't expect this. But where are we going? She thought. Surely, her children would take her somewhere special for her birthday. They got into the car without saying where they were going, understanding it was part of the surprise. Angela decided not to ask too many questions. A few hours later, they arrived at their destination. When the car stopped, she looked out the window and saw a renowned restaurant to her right. Angela got out with a radiant smile, ecstatic, and walked to the entrance of the restaurant. But before she could enter, she heard her children calling from the other side of the street. "Mom, what are you doing there?" "Come here, it's here," said one of the children. Angela then looked towards her son and, when she read what was written on the sign next to him, she couldn't believe it. She hoped it was a joke. Was this really happening? She was shocked and speechless. One of the children then went to meet her and led her by the arm. "Matthias, what's going on?" "What are we doing here?" asked Angela. "Mom, your house was sold. We need to pay off some debts or we'll lose our homes. Do you want to see your children and grandchildren poor? We need money, and here you'll have company." "But what happened to all the money?" Even before any response, a caregiver from the nursing home arrived to greet her enthusiastically. "Mrs. Angela, welcome. I'll show you around our facilities. Please, follow me." As the caregiver tried to cheer her up, showing the entire space and introducing her to the elderly residents along the way, her children went to sign the documents to keep her there. Some time after being settled in one of the rooms, her children and grandchildren came in to say goodbye. With an insensitive hug, they told her not to worry, that she would be fine there, and that they would visit her whenever possible. Angela remained quiet the whole time, not saying another word since she had arrived. The disappointment was so great she couldn't believe it. It was as if she had been stabbed in the chest, such was the depth of the pain she felt. She was in shock, unable to react. The children left and didn't even remember her birthday. Memories started to flood Angela's mind of how good the moments with her children were when they were little. She never imagined they would be capable of such cruelty. All her children had large houses and could have taken her to live with them. A staff member, while sorting through Angela's paperwork, noticed that it was her birthday. After notifying one of the caregivers, they improvised a surprise party. Despite Angela being deeply saddened by what had happened and being surrounded by strangers, she gratefully received the congratulations and felt welcomed by everyone. Weekends passed by, some elderly residents were visited, but others, like Angela, received no visits or calls from their families. They were forgotten, abandoned by their loved ones. 3 months went by, and Mother's Day arrived. Some volunteers prepared the place and started to cheer up all the elderly, dancing and playing with them. Angela watched everyone, and at a certain point, it was clear they were just trying to bring some light into that darkness. She hoped her children would appear, as all the families had been invited to the celebration. However, the hours passed, and no one showed up. Antonio, one of the volunteers, noticed Angela's sadness and decided to approach her. He tried to make her smile with a magic trick, giving her a rose, but to no avail. She responded, "Thank you for trying to cheer me up, young man, but how could I be happy at this moment? Look around us, we have become orphans of our own families, forgotten here, our relatives don't visit us. Not even on days like these. Who would want to live their last years like this?" Faced with Angela's empty gaze, the young man didn't know what to say. He was called by another volunteer and left. At the end of the party, Antonio asked one of the caregivers when that lady had arrived, as it was the first time he had seen her. "Angela was brought here 3 months ago. She has been distraught since she arrived. Her children brought her on her 85th birthday and never came back to see her," the caregiver said, moved by Angela's story. Antonio started visiting her almost every weekend, taking the opportunity to keep company with other elderly residents who also didn't receive visits. Gradually, the two developed a beautiful friendship, sharing stories. Antonio had a great affection for Angela, and she for him. Over time, Angela told him how her children had abandoned her and that some time ago she had lost her husband, with whom she had had a wonderful relationship, and since then her life had become lonely. Antonio also talked about himself and his family, saying that he worked for a company in the city and his wife worked at a school. Together, they formed a lovely family. After showing a photo of his wife and children, Angela asked Antonio to bring them to visit her, as she would like to meet them. Antonio said there would be plenty of opportunities and that he would certainly bring them as soon as possible. Her day became better when Antonio arrived, and on the rare occasions he couldn't come, he made sure to call the nursing home to let her know, as he knew she always waited for him anxiously. He was her only friend, and she considered him part of the family. Although there were other elderly residents with her, she didn't feel comfortable sharing her life with them. Some no longer remembered anything, didn't know who they were or where they came from, due to their advanced age, and others had developed some mental disorder. But Angela, despite her age, was completely lucid and enjoyed immersing herself in her readings. One day, Antonio came to visit her, but this time he wasn't alone, his 2 children and wife accompanied him. Angela was very happy and excited about the visit. She finally got to meet Antonio's family, of whom he spoke so proudly. What surprised her was Antonio's youngest son. She noticed that he had a problem with his little feet. But she decided not to comment on it. After some conversation, Antonio bid farewell to Angela and took the children home as they needed rest. Without Angela knowing, Antonio got the contact of one of his sons and called him with the intention of asking them to visit. "Hello, who am I speaking to, please?" Antonio asked. "This is Massachusetts. Look, if it's about the loan, I've already told the secretary that we'll pay next month." "Sorry, Mr. Matthias, it's not about the loan. It's about your mother." "Has she passed away?" "No, thank God, she's fine. I called to see if any of you could come to visit her. It's been a long time, and she misses you and the grandchildren a lot." "Well, let's see if we can find some time, but it's complicated. I'm dealing with a lot of things and I'm short on time." "I understand. I hope you can come, it'll make her very happy." Days passed, and unfortunately, nobody showed up. Antonio continued his visits and considered Angela as his grandmother. They got along very well, and he wished he had known her earlier. One day, after some relaxed conversations, Angela asked Antonio what his dream was. "Well, my dream is to see my little son walk. Unfortunately, we couldn't continue his treatment because it's extremely expensive and we don't have the means." "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "I can help you." "Really? But how?" "Get me a pen and paper." Antonio did so. Angela wrote down an address, explained some details, and handed him a key. "There you will find a small barn. Exactly at this location written down, you will find a box that can be opened with this key. Make good use of it. Chase your dream, and only come back after you've solved it." Antonio and Angela then said their goodbyes. The next day, after work, Antonio went to the address Angela had indicated on the paper. He found the barn and, after searching the place, located the box. It was all dusty. Apparently, it had been there for many years. Antonio took the box with some difficulty, as he didn't expect it to be so heavy. He decided to open it with his wife when he got home. Upon arrival, they were curious about what was inside. Antonio then took the key he had received from Angela and opened the box. At first, there were several old photographs of Angela's family, and he found it strange how this could help his son. However, as he removed the photos from the box, he realized there was a false bottom. What he saw there left him stunned. They couldn't believe it. There were several beautiful jewels and bars of gold. They cried with emotion because now there was a new hope that their son could walk. The next day, eager to proceed with the treatment that would bring back their son's movements, they went to a renowned specialized hospital. Since with each passing day, the risk of the problem becoming irreversible increased. The received amount was sufficient to cover the entire treatment for their son, and there would still be enough left. So, the next day, Antonio and his wife Laura had the idea of buying a house for Angela, a few meters from theirs, as they would take her to live there as a gesture of gratitude, being closer to visit her every day. As soon as they finalized the purchase of the house, they immediately went to the nursing home to make a big surprise for Angela, and take her with them because they knew how much she didn't like being there. They arrived around 5 p.m. and looked for Angela, but she wasn't in her room as usual. When they found one of the caregivers, they asked about the lady, and what they heard made them lose their ground. Angela had passed away the previous night. They didn't even have the opportunity to show her immense gratitude. Days passed, and Antonio still felt a great emptiness. That lady had marked his life and that of his family. He hoped he could share with Angela, in the near future, the happiness of seeing his little son walk. But unfortunately, she passed away when no one expected it. As a way of recording Angela's great kindness and to honor her, Antonio decided to share his story anonymously in a local newspaper. The story reached several cities and even other countries, just as it is reaching you now. The story soon reached Angela's children, who were surprised to learn that their mother had given the last valuable thing in the family's inheritance to a stranger. But what they didn't know was how much that stranger made her happy in her last year of life. And as the old saying goes, one mother can take care of 10 children, but 10 children cannot take care of one mother. Always be patient with the elderly. After all, one day they were patient with the child you once were. May this story serve as a reflection for all of us. Say no to abandonment. Thank you for watching. Comment below what you thought of this story and which city you are watching us from. Leave your like and subscribe to our channel, Story Brazil, so that together we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories. See you later.